in the modern era, yeah, Pep and the way his teams play, the delightful football, the sublime football at times, yeah, he's the best of the current crop.
The reporter asked him if he still considers himself one of the great managers in world football. And the answer to that is unquestionably yes.
Football, like any other sport, has a great relationship with competitiveness, and there is usually successful people that tend to share goals, which makes them great companions, helping each other to achieve those goals. But there are also cases where said competitiveness can make them great rivals that are often found in the way of each other's individual success. It is common to find rivalries between great players who share the same era. It is less common for rivalries to develop between managers, mainly because it is difficult to stay at the top level for a long period of time. In the case of football managers, Jose Mourinho and Pep Guardiola, their success and their certain additional circumstances led them to develop this duel, often reflecting two very distinct football ideologies and ways to perceive the game. Arguably the biggest football rivalry between managers in the history of the sport. There are many reasons why this is the case, and today we are going to address the origins, traits and achievements of Guardiola and Mourinho as managers, as football ideologies and a lot more. Pep and Mourinho met in 1996 at FC Barcelona, when the Portuguese worked as Sir Bobby Robson's assistant. Despite the fact that many people viewed him as a mere translator, the original job he had with Robson, his role was a football analyst for the English manager, while Guardiola himself was one of the seasoned players at the Catalan club. During that period, the relationship between the two seemed to have been positive, at least based on what can be gathered from the people who followed the club's environment at the time. The duo spent 4 years at Barcelona together, and according to Mourinho himself, they shared a very close relationship at the time, but things changed, and changed very quickly. Mourinho was the chosen one for Barcelona in 2008. The Champions League winning manager had just left Chelsea after making the West London club one of Europe's most feared teams. The Portuguese wanted to return to the Camp Nou, but his homecoming was crashed by his old friend Pep Guardiola, and that changed the history of their relationship. Jose Mourinho once said about Pep Guardiola, "There are people much more intelligent than me who manage to sell an image of themselves, completely different to mine, but deep down they are the same as me." In another press conference he said, after Chelsea collected the title, "I'm not the smartest guy to choose clubs and countries. I could choose another club in another country where to be champion is easier." Mourinho had not named Guardiola, but the insinuations were clear. For a long time the Spaniard held his tongue, but finally snapped. If he prefers to value the views of journalist friends who take their information in a drip feed from Florentino Perez more than the friendship that we had for 4 years, then that's his choice, Guardiola said. "I tried to learn from Jose on the pitch, but preferred to learn as little as possible from him outside the pitch." In 2010, Mourinho's Inter Milan side faced Guardiola's FC Barcelona for the semi-finals of the Champions League, a duel that sparked some comments prior to the match that began to affect the relationship between the two, and the somewhat excessive celebration of the Portuguese once the second leg was finished at the Camp Nou stadium, with his team qualifying for the final. Mourinho would win the competition, as well as the Serie A and Coppa Italia, an achievement that would place him as the best manager in the world at the time, which was a symbolic achievement attributed to Guardiola a year earlier when he lifted 6 titles in his first year as manager at the first tier of world football. At the end of the 2009 to 2010 season, Mourinho would arrive at Real Madrid and coincide for 2 seasons in Spain with Guardiola, which were plagued by fierce and bitter clásicos between both clubs, full of statements and verbal attacks between both managers and teams that ended up creating one of the biggest periods of rivalry between the two institutions in their entire history. It was a time of tension, a lot of animosity, and a clear demonstration of how far both teams could go in order to defeat their lifelong rivals. When Mourinho arrived at Real Madrid in 2010, it's fair to say the odds were against him, competing against what was known then and has been known since as the greatest Barcelona team of all time, and things did not bode well for him, losing 5-0 in the league, which was a historical victory and a complete battery at the hands of Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, but also losing the semi-final of the Champions League with an iconic 2 goals in the first leg at the hands of Lionel Messi in their home stadium, all whilst Madrid played dirty tactics, fouling the Barcelona players repeatedly in an attempt to rattle them. Pep's Barcelona also won the second leg, knocking him out of the competition. Pep then went on to win both competitions, securing the double. However, Mourinho did secure a shock victory in the Copa del Rey against Barcelona. It was the club's first cup victory in 18 years, with Real Madrid's last victory being in 1993 against Real Zaragoza. Despite being knocked out of the Champions League and being beaten in the league by Barcelona, it was a noticeable victory as the Catalan Giants were strong favourites and had a vice-like grip on the domestic trophies since 2008. It was the next season of 2011 to 2012 when Mourinho made his mark, securing the league in record-breaking fashion with over 100 points, finally releasing Barcelona's 3-year chokehold. It was an achievement the footballing world knew only Jose Mourinho could achieve. Pep Guardiola went on to win the Copa del Rey in emphatic fashion against Atletico Bilbao in a 3-0 victory, knocking out Jose and Real Madrid in the quarter-finals. Pep Guardiola left Barcelona at the end of the season, whilst Jose signed a 4-year contract expiring in 2016. Unexpectedly though, he left Real Madrid at the end of the following season, which was called at the time the worst season of his career. The battle between Pep and Jose during these few years have gone down in history as some may say the peak of football, two of arguably the greatest footballing managers ever, which was at the time the two greatest teams in the world, with the two greatest footballers to ever play the game at the peak of their careers battling head to head. It was a special time in football, and watching the games felt like there was awe around them, as if we were watching something special, and the whole world was watching. It was a beautiful time for the sport, and displayed levels of football we may never see again. The rivalry itself led to comparisons between each manager's ways of training, their personalities and their tactical philosophies they put into practice. Perhaps this is why there is such a marked difference between the fans of Guardiola and the fans of Mourinho, because those two arguably represent two very different ways of understanding and playing the game. Starting with Guardiola, he has become the representative way of playing in Spain that is known as tiki-taka, which consists of greater possession of the ball, both in the offensive and defensive side of things, slowly developing play that end up as goal-scoring chances. And in the defensive side, the fact that the rivals cannot obtain the ball reduces the chances they can generate to score. Although in the three clubs he has managed, FC Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Manchester City, he has mostly used the 4-3-3 formation. The characteristics of some of his players are varied notably. For example, if we compare the defensive midfielder he had in the Catalan club, Sergio Busquets, with whom he currently has at Manchester City, Fernandinho, we can say that the Spaniard is much better at recycling possession and is a specialist in the precision of his passing, whilst the Brazilian is a player more focused on recovering the ball and on helping maintain defensive shape when exposed to potential counter-attacks. For his part, Mourinho, who had a longer career than Guardiola, has alternated between the 4-2-3-1 formation and the 4-3-3. Although always focused on utilising the strengths of his teams, the best representatives of Mourinho's idea of football was probably his Chelsea side during the years 2004 and 2006, a team that achieved a record of points for that time, in addition to having only conceded 15 goals in the entire 2004 to 2005 Premier League season, and also his Inter Milan of 2009 to 2010, who shockingly knocked out Pep Guardiola's prime Barcelona in the semi-final of the Champions League. It was after this incredible feat the Portuguese manager was coined with the tactical term "part the Barça," an ultra-defensive style of football with the tactic of playing all midfielders and defenders behind the ball, soaking up pressure and hitting teams on the counter-attack. The Portuguese forms teams that are solid in the defensive part, that are conjugated with destabilising and decisive attacks, to whom Mourinho usually gives them freedom of action, as it has been confirmed by former players Diego Milito, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Eden Hazard. They are two of the most successful managers in the history of football, and they have achieved greatness in different countries. In that regard, there is no debating that they both have secured their place in the history of football. Guardiola has won amongst his most important titles: 8 national leagues, 3 in Spain, 3 in Germany and 2 in England, 2 Champions Leagues, both at Barcelona, and 13 national cups and super cups, 5 in Spain, 2 in Germany and 6 in England, in addition to 3 UEFA Super Cups and 3 FIFA Club World Cups. For his part, Mourinho, who has had a longer managerial career than the Catalan, has among his titles 8 national leagues, 2 in Portugal, 3 in England, 2 in Italy and 1 in Spain, 2 Champions Leagues, 1 with Porto and the other with Inter Milan, 2 UEFA Cups, 2 Europa Leagues, 1 with FC Porto and Manchester United respectively, 13 national cups and super cups, 2 in Portugal, 7 in England, 2 in Italy and 2 in Spain. Choosing one over the other depends on personal perception and taste, as they both have very noticeable understanding of the game from a tactical perspective and very marked playing styles that can appeal to certain sections of fans. Guardiola took a style that other managers in the past had proposed, notably Johan Cruyff, and took it to the next level with his Barcelona, and has been polishing it over the years at his other clubs. Although a style of play that can lead to him being predictable at times, which can lead to your rivals preparing very clear strategies to counter you, Mourinho on his side has used this solid approach to achieve feats that could become unthinkable, like the Champions League title won with Porto back in 2004, and that is a point in favour that plays in favour of the Portuguese, having trained in teams that can be considered underdogs to a certain extent with FC Porto and Inter Milan, and achieving titles that at that time seemed unlikely. Guardiola has had a brilliant career full of titles and successes, but has done it in dominant clubs at good times in their respective histories. Barcelona, Bayern and Manchester City were all in positions of power when Pep took over. In favour of the Spanish, it can be argued despite this, he has remained more consistent over the years, unlike Mourinho, who in his last years has lost some validity and significance in terms of titles won and results, which has always been his main focus as a manager. This is especially highlighted with this last season with Manchester United and now with Tottenham. The rivalry between Mourinho and Guardiola has served to polarise the world of football in a certain way, which is something similar to what happens with Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, for example. In the case of the Catalan manager, his style of play and public attitude has helped him to receive a greater liking from the media, which is obviously quite the opposite with what happens with Mourinho, whose comments and special one attitudes have led him to be targeted by a large part of the media. Beyond that, there are two living legends of world football that will be remembered over time as two of the best managers in the sport. This is Football Forever. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please like and subscribe as it helps my channel to grow. I have more and more videos on the way for all the fans of football.